game, and I think all the pressure now goes on his shoulders. Graziano, haven't heard from you. Who's the quarterback under the most pressure in your view this weekend?
I think it's Lamar Jackson, because the one thing people are, continue to knock Lamar Jackson for is playoff performance, right? I mean, he's won an MVP. He's shown this year that he can recover from a tough start, playing at his MVP level now the last few weeks. But what's the one thing we still don't know about him? Can he deliver in the playoffs? His 2 playoff games so far have been terrible. And if he has another terrible one, then this sticks to him for at least another year. I'm with Dominique on Baker Mayfield. I think, he's already accomplished, I think, more than people expected him to this year. And there are excuses for him if it doesn't work out this weekend. Lamar, this is the big one for him.
Nick, who's the quarterback under your microscope?
Yeah, I think it's Aaron Rodgers, and it's because of time. Like, I think Dan is right about Lamar Jackson, but Lamar, his career is very young. He's got a lot more time to overcome that perception and potentially win a Super Bowl. I think Aaron Rodgers, right now, this is a kind of legacy-defining run that he could have right here. Jumping to 2 Super Bowls puts him in more elite category, and also putting him on top of winning a regular season MVP, which we all think he's probably going to end up doing. And then if he could go to the Super Bowl and possibly outduel Patrick Mahomes, I think because he has limited time left and so much to gain from this run, there's so much pressure on Aaron Rodgers.
How about that on the timing? RC, finish it up. Who you got?
No, listen, I agree with both of those guys from this sense. Lamar this weekend, Aaron Rodgers for the entire playoffs. Lamar has to go out and win this game and play well. But when you look at Aaron Rodgers, he's 1-4 in NFC championships. He's a guy who many of us think is 1A, 1B with Patrick Mahomes for the best we've ever seen with our eyes. And he only has 1 Super Bowl. And so if Aaron Rodgers makes this jump after winning a regular season MVP, which we all kind of assume that he will, and now he's at the 2 Super Bowl mark, and you're with John Elway, and you're with Peyton Manning, now you become a part of a different discussion. You become a part of the greatest of all time discussion, which is where Aaron Rodgers truly belongs. But without the team accolades, without the team accomplishments, you don't get there. And that's what's important about this season, being an alpha dog, being the best player in the NFL, and being a champion.
That one I buy. You guys went big picture. I had been thinking of it small picture. In the big picture, I agree with that. Meanwhile, nobody mentioned Tom Brady, who was going into the playoffs this weekend. The Philadelphia flop continues to reverberate within their building. Yesterday, running back Miles Sanders said, quote, nobody on the team was in favor of the decision to pull quarterback Jalen Hurts during a 3-point game in the 4th quarter against Washington on Sunday night. Here's Sanders with more.
Man, if I'm being honest, nobody liked the decision. Nobody, and that's all I could say, really. But I don't know who was the main person behind that decision. But all I know is a lot of people on the team was confused.
So we've had sort of a fascinating array of opinion on this story over the course of this week. But Dominique Foxworth, I've not heard from you. What is your take on what Sanders said, the decision that was made, and the whole big picture in Philadelphia?
I mean, honestly, while it was happening, I saw it and I was like annoyed, and I opened my phone with the intentions of voicing my annoyance on Twitter. And I got on there and everybody was so hot that I was like, the table stakes are too high. Like, I'm not that angry. Let me go ahead and fold and back out. Like, I understand why the players were frustrated, and everybody knows how much I despise tanking. And before a season starts, if it looks like a team is tanking, I will go all the way off. However, this was just a half of football. And to me, I understood why they're doing it. I didn't like it. I wouldn't support it. I can understand why the players are annoyed by it. But one of the big reasons why I think this became a big issue was because it was a primetime game and the whole football world came down in judgment. Once that happens, then it's really easy, I think, for players to pop up and say, I'm that tough guy. I'm the one who wants to win every single week. But in actuality, I'm sure a couple of guys on that team, if Coach Peterson was like, hey, you want to take the week off? They would have been happy to take the week off. But they're in the game and they want to win once they've committed to that. I understand once you've committed a whole half and you're out there, you're sweating, you're bleeding, you want to finish that game off, and you see someone make a decision that inhibits your ability to do that, you're going to get angry.
RC?
Listen, right now, see, the reason he had to shut his phone off or get up out of Twitter was because he was lukewarm. And you know, you've been in the church. You know what they say when you lukewarm, you get spat out the mouth. And so he knew he shouldn't have said anything. And he's absolutely wrong as well, right? Like these guys aren't being influenced by the outside world, because the reason that it was a primetime game because it was a game that was going to decide who won the NFC East. It was a game that the NFL was expecting to be competitive. And there's two different things. When I hear Miles Sanders talk and he says, you know what, not many people in the locker room were in favor of this decision. To me, that means they don't know. And you know this as well as anybody. You can handle things as long as you communicate. If you communicate to the team, here is my focus. Here is how we're going into this week. This is what's going to happen. It's a different reaction from your players. But the locker room and the head coach don't see things eye to eye. I take Jason Kelce as the leader of the locker room, right? He's the captain. He says every decision should be made with one priority: to win football games. But your head coach says every decision should be made based on what the hell I want. And that's cool, but you got to communicate that to me. When you decide that the last game of the regular season is senior night, and you're going to let Nate Sudfeld, who's been the scout team quarterback from his freshman year until his senior year, get to play in front of his parents after they walk him out and he hands his mom a rose and his dad a white football with his name on it, you tell me that. Because if you tell me that, I know now how to approach the week differently. Don't have me being Boston Scott, getting my head bust by Chase Young, and then you put Nate Sudfeld in the game. That ain't how it works.
Exactly right. And listen, Dan Graziano, you have been the voice of the other side of this thing. And yesterday, you had your two big fellas in front of you leading the way with the blocking with Jeff Saturday and Marcus Spears. Today, you're kind of on your own, but you don't see it this way.
Yeah, but I can scramble, though. I can get out of the pocket and extend the play a little bit, so I'm going to keep at it. Look,
well, you and Nate Sudfeld do not have that in common. Go ahead, sorry.
Competitive bleeding and sweating as these guys have. I mean, to Dominique's point, yeah, I get it. But look, Miles Sanders was not active for the game, and he was one of several prominent and important Eagles players that were left inactive for the game. I think Doug Peterson did telegraph to his team and to the world that it was going to be senior night. He mentioned last week the idea of getting Sudfeld into the game. Do I know if he stood in front of his team and told them exactly who was going to play and when? No, but it wasn't some kind of big secret or some kind of big surprise. In a game that didn't count for the Eagles, Doug Peterson made the moves he thought were the right ones for that particular night for the Eagles.
Finish it up, RC. Go ahead.
It was a secret, right? Because I know that Taylor Heineke is practicing to prepare to play for the Washington football team this week. That was a secret. Just because Chris Collinsworth knew it doesn't mean that he communicated that anywhere else. This is a decision